What's up, everyone? It's AG Reviews, back at it again. And last night, I got the chance to check out Volume 1 of Stranger Things 5. The time is finally here. We've been waiting for this for 3 years. And last night, it finally came. We finally got the first half of this season. And overall, I really enjoyed what we got here. I really liked it. I think that there are a lot of things that really worked about this. A lot of things that are still left open, obviously, to be answered in Volume 2 and with the finale. So yeah, but overall, I had a blast. These episodes are very fast paced. They get right to it. We really don't mess around with everything. So let's get in to what I really liked about this season. What I really think that this first half of this season did very well is I felt like it kept the grand scale of what we got in Stranger Things season 5, but it pulled it back to the like core roots of Stranger Things that we all know and love. Like I kind of talked about how I felt like season 1 felt like so different from every other seasons of Stranger Things because in season 1 everything was focused. Yes, there were multiple characters and multiple plot lines going on, but it was all connected at the center of it with the story about Will vanishing. That was the thing. And I feel like this does a good job at bringing it back to that. Yes, it's grand scale. Yes, it's epic. Yes, it's cinematic. I mean these are going to basically be 8 movies like it was last season. But I felt like it did a good job at bringing everything together and making one goal and one thing that everyone is heading towards, which I felt like that this show has been missing for the last 3 seasons. I also really like where a majority of the characters are at this point in time once we get into this season. I know it's not explicitly stated in the show, but I do believe the Duffer Brothers did confirm that this takes place 18 months after season 4. And where these characters are, I think, are in the natural places that their characters would have progressed to. The standout for me in that way is Dustin. I think Dustin's character is at such a natural progression after season 4 and the death of Eddie, where he's just very angry with the world because he had somebody that truly felt like a best friend for him and somebody who understood him on a certain level that maybe even Mike and Will and Lucas didn't. And he died. And not only did he die, the entire world thinks that he's a murderer and a bad guy. And Dustin and the group of his friends know that that's not true. So this causes for Dustin to be angry. And he has a certain edge to him. Like there's a couple of scenes in the beginning episode where he's standing up to bullies and Lucas is coming to his defense. I'm like, oh, I love this. Like this is the natural progression of where these characters should be going. We're not just rehashing what we've done before. And I really enjoyed that, about this season so far. I also think, and everyone's going to talk about it because he had a lot of the big moments of this first half. I won't go into super specifics. I might just lightly tap into the spoilers, but I really love what they're doing with Will in this first half of this season. To me, Will has always been a bit of a weird character because I feel like obviously he's very important, right, to the plots and to the storylines that we've gotten so far in the show. Like his presence and himself as a character is very important. But I just feel like he's always kind of been held back as a character, like from his own personal story and personal growth. He's kind of playing second fiddle to everybody else, but they really put him front and center here, and I think they gave him some of the best character arc moments. Frankly, probably of the show. I mean, there are some moments where like I am straight up clapping and cheering for the things that Will does here, and just some of the growth as a character. And it's been a hot topic, obviously, but even some of the conversations like that he has with Robin about like his sexuality and stuff like that. Like I really dug every single thing that they did with Will as a character and for his character arc in this show. I also really dug that they are having Mike embrace his leadership. I really liked in the kind of change that they've had with Mike so far this season, where he's really stepping up and being the leader that we all know he can be. He's had those moments before, but it really feels like he has grown and matured into that leader. And as someone who, yeah, he doesn't have the powers, he's not the superhero like Eleven is, but he can use his mind and use his smarts and be the leader that this group needed. I also like the inclusion of Holly. Holly, obviously Holly Wheeler hasn't even really been a character up until this point. She's basically been a background character just to act as Mike's sister. But they bring her into the forefront and bring her into the story. And I really like what they're doing, with her character, so far in these episodes. They kind of, don't really reveal, like, what her involvement really means, like, what's even the point of her involvement yet. They kind of vaguely touch on it, but I think we're going to get a little bit more, in the back half of the season. But I really enjoyed, what they did with both Mike and Holly. I think they really brought up Mike and brought Holly in a way, that actually works and is well done. I also really like the blend of kind of like the horror vibe that we got in season 4, but then also still kind of staying true to the roots of the show and the vibe that we kind of got with some of the humor in like seasons 1 and 3. Like, I feel like this so far has a really good blend of the tone, and I think that's one of the things that's done really well here. And it gets dark, it gets spooky, but it also can make you laugh. It also can have those lighthearted moments, between the characters and have an upbeat energy while also having scenes that are definitely dark. And like I said, we're just at big scale here. I mean, everything is grand, everything is epic here, but it also feels personal, right? It feels like it has all of the elements of like a very epic blockbuster type show like we got in season 4, but it also scales it back a little bit and remembers to be more personal and to have a little bit more of a focused storyline, which I really appreciated and really dug so far about this season. I mean, this season comes right out of the gate like a bat in hell. Like it's right off rip. It starts fast and it does not slow down. These 4 episodes flew by for me. I felt like it was intense the entire way through. Big set pieces, big moments, big developments, everything about it. I felt epic, personal, but also, not too over the top with any of it. I felt like it struck the perfect balance for me. And to keep this review balanced, I'm kind of going to get into some things that I didn't necessarily love. I think that the like kind of love triangle essentially that we got going on between Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan. So far, 4 episodes in, it's not really working for me. I think it is kind of doing a little bit more damage to Steve and Jonathan's characters than I would have loved. A lot's going on here, and Jonathan kind of perfectly states it at one point in this first half of the season, where everything that's going on around them is too big to kind of be focused on like these little macho competition, right, between Steve and Jonathan. I feel like it kind of treats it in a weird way where it's like the characters themselves are even acknowledging like, hey, this probably isn't the right time to be kind of trying to deal with this problem here. Even though I know, obviously it has to be resolved by the end of the season, but kind of the arcs and the storylines that they're going on here with, Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan, not a huge fan of. And then to kind of piggyback off that, not really a fan either of the dynamic between Steve and Dustin here. Like I said, Dustin's in a place where he's very angry at the world for everything that happened in season 4 and happened with Eddie. But I find it a little bit unbelievable that Dustin would then turn around and take that out on Steve. That is not, like, that kind of makes Dustin a little bit unlikable in those moments where he's going so hard at Steve when Steve has been someone that's always been there for him. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. Now, obviously, some of these things that I'm talking about with these plots that I'm not a huge fan of, can be remedied, right? Because, again, we're only seeing half of a season. And that kind of goes into my second negative. I don't really understand why we did this, Volume 1, Volume 2, finale thing. Like, I think that this show, particularly with how much of a cultural impact it has, this show would have absolutely maximized its potential, its water cooler talk, by being a weekly release. It also would have maximized avoiding spoilers because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't able to watch all 4 episodes right away. Because it was released late at night and I work full time, I have kids, and it was Thanksgiving and everything like that. So I wasn't able to really watch all 4 episodes right off rip, and spoilers were running rampant online. I was lucky enough to pretty much avoid majority of them. But there was a couple that came through the cracks. So, this is a complaint for me, but I don't really think it's more about what happened in the show. It's just more of the fact I think that this show would absolutely have benefited from being a weekly release. And I really wish Netflix would kind of get on board with that. I don't really understand. I understand maybe not for all their shows they don't want to do weekly releases, but like Stranger Things is the biggest show. Like, Netflix literally crashed last night because of how many people wanted to watch this show. So I don't really understand why they just refuse to do weekly releases, because I think it would benefit everyone in the long run. And I mean, even the time frame that we're doing here, I mean, we're doing, Thanksgiving last night, and then Christmas a month from now, you'll get after episode 4, and then New Year's. It's only, if you would have done week to week, it's only a week or two, I think, after that New Year's date that we would have been wrapping up with week to week. So it would have been the same time frame. You're not gaining more subscriptions or losing subscriptions by doing it. If anything, it would have been more, because it might have actually put you into a second month for some of these subscriptions. So I don't know. I just don't understand Netflix's release strategy, with this. I think it could have been better. I don't like people being spoiled things, and when you release shows at inopportune times, and then you release multiple episodes at that, it's like, yeah, I was able to catch the first 2 and not get any spoilers for that, but I didn't get to watch the last 2 until today, during Thanksgiving, and then I saw some stuff last night. So, I don't know. I wish Netflix would just kind of figure it out and start doing weekly releases for some of their bigger shows. And then to kind of wrap up this review, I do wish we got a little bit more Vecna. I found it very weird that we didn't get a lot of Vecna in this season. As Vecna, he basically only shows up for one scene. We get a little bit of Henry in here, and that's kind of all I'll go into without spoiling, but we get a little bit of Henry, but really not a whole lot of Vecna. And I hope that changes in the second half, because if they kind of keep him in the shadows and not really at the forefront like they did in this first half of the season, it's going to feel a little weird, since this is the big bad, and this is the villain that we're going after to wrap up this series. So yeah, I just hope we get a little bit more of him. I think he's great when he shows up, and I think Jamie Campbell Bower does fantastic as Vecna. So I want to see more of him, and I just hope we get that in Volume 2 in the finale. But yeah, guys, overall, I really did enjoy this first half of this season. I've seen some people complaining, and then I see what they're complaining about, and I'm kind of just like, dear Lord, I don't really think that this is serious criticism. In my eyes, I think that this was a very strong start to this season, but it's a season that's not complete. I mean, we're only getting the first half. We only got the first half, and it feels like that. So it does leave me wanting more, and it doesn't, obviously fully satisfy me because I don't have the ending to the story, but overall, so far, what we've gotten, I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. The episodes were action-packed. It goes from the beginning, and it doesn't let up, and I think that a lot of the character arcs that we got going on here are really working for me. So I'm very happy with what we got so far. Very excited for Volume 2 and the finale. I'm upset that we got to wait a month for it, but it is what it is. We can all theorize and speculate on what's going to happen and dissect what we saw in Volume 1, and until then, it is what it is. So go ahead, guys, comment below. Let me know what you thought about Volume 1. Did you enjoy it as much as me? What are your issues? What did you love? Just comment below. let me know. Let's talk some Stranger Things. I love this show, and I love talking about this show. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me today, guys. So everyone, have a great night.